Hello, and welcome to SpaceX Zone. Today we're going to talk about Starlink and everything you should know about Elon Musk's satellite internet venture. The billionaire SpaceX CEO is launching satellites into orbit and promising to deliver high-speed broadband internet to as many people as possible. When you think of billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk, chances are good that you think of his electric car company Tesla, his space exploration venture SpaceX, or his stint hosting Saturday Night Live. To say nothing of his history of stirring up controversy on social media or smoking weed with Joe Rogan. Maybe you just know him as one of the richest people on Earth. Something you might be less familiar with is a venture of Musk's called Starlink, which aims to sell internet connections to almost anyone on the planet by way of a growing network of private satellites orbiting overhead. After years of development within SpaceX, and after securing nearly $885.5 million in grant funds from the Federal Communications Commissions at the end of 2020, Starlink's progress seemed to be accelerating in 2021. In January, after about 3 years' worth of successful launches, the project surpassed 1,000 satellites delivered into orbit. In June, SpaceX said the number sits at roughly 1,800. In February, Musk's company disclosed that Starlink was serving more than 10,000 customers. Now, after expanding pre-orders to even more potential customers, Musk says that Starlink has shipped more than 100,000 satellite internet terminals to customers in 14 countries. SpaceX says that it expects Starlink to reach global serviceability sometime this fall, though regional availability will depend on regulatory approval. During a talk at Mobile World Congress in June of this year, Musk told an audience that Starlink would be available worldwide except at the North and South Poles starting in August. In September, Musk tweeted that Starlink would exit its initial beta phase in October, which indicates that the service is continuing to ramp up and expand. The budding internet service isn't without its controversies. Members of the scientific community have raised concerns about the impact of Starlink's low Earth orbit satellites on night sky visibility. Meanwhile, satellite internet competitors including Viasat, HughesNet, and Amazon's Project Kuiper have taken notice of Starlink's momentum too, prompting plenty of regulatory jousting and attempts to slow Musk down. All of that makes Starlink well worth keeping an eye on in 2021. For now, here's everything you should know about it. Okay, start at the beginning. What is Starlink exactly? Technically a division within SpaceX, Starlink is also the name of the spaceflight company's growing network or constellation of orbital satellites. The development of that network began in 2015, with the first prototype satellites launched into orbit in 2018. In the years since, SpaceX has developed over 1,000 Starlink satellites into orbit across dozens of successful launches. In January, for its first Starlink mission of 2021, SpaceX launched 60 satellites into orbit from Kennedy Space Center using the landable, relaunchable Falcon 9 orbital rocket. Subsequent launches, the most recent of which delivered another 60 satellites into orbit on May 26, 2021, have brought the total number of satellites into the constellation up to 1,737, though some of those satellites are prototypes or non-operational units that aren't functioning parts of the network. And those satellites can connect my home to the internet? That's the idea, yes. Just like existing providers in internet, Starlink wants to sell internet access, particularly to people in rural areas and other parts of the world who don't already have access to high-speed broadband. SpaceX's Starlink hardware includes a satellite dish and router, which you'll set up at home to receive the signal from space. All you need to do to make the connection is set up a small satellite dish at your home to receive the signal and pass the bandwidth onto your router. There's even a Starlink app for Android and iOS that uses augmented reality to help customers pick the best location and position for their receivers. Starlink's service is only available in select regions in the US, Canada, and abroad at this point, but the service now boasts more than 100,000 satellite terminals shipped to customers, and the coverage map will continue to grow as more satellites make their way into the constellation. Eventually, Starlink hopes to blanket the entire planet in a usable, high-speed Wi-Fi signal. How fast is Starlink's internet service? Users can expect to see data speeds vary from 50 to 150 megabits per second and latency from 20 to 40 milliseconds in most locations over the next several months. Starlink's website says, while also warning of brief periods of no connectivity at all. As we launch more satellites, install more ground stations, and improve our networking software, data speed, latency, and uptime will improve dramatically. How much does Starlink cost? Starlink has begun accepting pre-orders from customers interested in joining the company's Better Than Nothing beta program. The cost of the service is billed at $99 per month, plus taxes and fees, plus an initial payment of $500 for the mountable satellite dish and router that you'll need to install at home. Starlink says that it's taking orders from customers on a first-come, first-served basis and that some pre-orders could take as long as 6 months to fulfill. $99 per month is a lot for an internet connection, especially one that isn't nearly as fast as a fiber connection, but Musk is betting that the cost will be worth it for people who have thus far lived without access to a reliably fast connection at all. Where is Starlink available? Despite promising to blanket the entire globe in coverage by this fall, Starlink's service is currently limited to select regions and select countries, but the coverage map will grow considerably as more satellites join the constellation. Per Musk, the list of countries currently serviced by the growing network of low Earth orbit satellites include the US, Canada, the UK, France, Germany, Austria, the Netherlands, Ireland, Belgium, Switzerland, Denmark, Portugal, Australia, and New Zealand. Starlink's pre-order agreement includes options for requesting service in other countries too, including Italy, Poland, Spain, and Chile. There's still a ways to go. Starlink will likely need at least 10,000 satellites in orbit before it can claim to offer full service to a majority of the globe, and SpaceX has shown signs that it wants as many as 42,000 satellites in the constellation. Right now, it's only about 20% of the way there at best, with coverage focused on regions sitting between 45 and 53 degrees north latitude. Still, Musk has been bullish about the Starlink timeline. During an interview at 2021's Mobile World Congress, Musk said that Starlink will hit worldwide availability except at the North and South Poles starting in August. Earlier in June, Shotwell expressed a similar sentiment and said that Starlink would reach global serviceability sometime this fall. We've successfully deployed 1,800 or so satellites, and once all those satellites reach their operational orbit, we will have continuous global coverage, so that should be like the September timeframe, she said. Why satellites anyway? Isn't fiber faster? Fiber, or internet delivered via ground-laid fiber optic cable, offers upload and download speeds that are indeed much faster than the satellite internet. But, as companies like Google will tell you, there's nothing fast about deploying the infrastructure necessary to get fiber to people's homes. That's not to say that there's anything simple about shooting satellites into space, but with fewer sharp-elbowed competitors and with a lot less red tape to cut through, there's every reason to believe that services like Starlink will reach the bulk of underserved communities long before fiber ever will. Recent FCC filings also suggest that Starlink could ultimately double as a dedicated phone service too. And don't forget that this is Elon Musk we're talking about. SpaceX is the only company on the planet with a landable, reusable rocket capable of delivering payload after payload into orbit. That's a mighty advantage in the commercial space race. On top of that, Musk said in 2018 that Starlink will help provide SpaceX with revenue needed to fund the company's long-held ambition to establish a base on Mars. Starlink's terms of service include a Mars clause. Users must agree that Mars is a free planet unbound by the authority or sovereignty of any Earthbound government. Is Starlink reliable? Early reports from outlets like Fast Company and CNBC seem to indicate that Starlink's first customers are satisfied with the service, though the company warns of brief periods of no connectivity at all during beta. The website downdetector.com, which tracks service outages, lists 4 disruptions to Starlink in 2021, one each in January, February, and April, with the most recent outage occurring on May 6th. For comparison, Down Detector lists no major outages in 2021 for HughesNet and one in February for Viasat. What about bad weather and other obstructions? That's definitely one of the downsides to satellite internet. For Starlink's FAQ, the receiver is capable of melting snow that lands on it, but it can't do anything about surrounding snow buildup and other obstructions that might block its line of sight to the satellite. We recommend installing Starlink in a location that avoids snow buildup and other obstructions from blocking the field of view, the FAQ reads. Heavy rain or wind can also affect your satellite internet connection, potentially leading to slower speeds or a rare outage. For now, thanks for watching and see you at space!